So you're launching a product into the niche, right? Seems like you're going to be able to make some profit, right? But what you're finding is that all of the top sellers are under one brand name. Should you go and pursue this or should you not? The answer is most likely not, right? If you're selling into a niche and then a lot of the sellers are a big brand name, like let's say obviously you don't want to sell running shoes, but let's say I wanted to sell running shoes, right? And I go into the running shoes category. It seems like I can make some sales, but a lot of the sales are actually coming from people searching for Nike running shoes, right? And there might be a small percentage of other sellers that are not Nike. Sorry, again, New York sirens. I'm just going to let this go by. Almost there. We're almost got there. Yeah. Okay, so, okay, back to the example, right? So I want to go into this niche. Nike is dominating this niche. And I'm like, wait a minute, I think I can come in and sell running shoes. You probably don't want to launch in that niche, right? What we're looking for a lot more than a niche being dominated by a lot of different brand names is we want to see a niche dominated by a lot of different ways to search for a product, right? Because kind of what we're banking on is like, I can't go and put Nike into my listing. I can run PPC spend to Nike, but like, are people really going to buy Anthony's running shoes if I'm running ads to these Nike products, or are they ultimately going to want to go and buy Nike products? Versus if I can come up with, if there's a lot of different ways people are searching for my running shoes, maybe, geez, this is just crazy. There we go. If there's a lot of different ways people are searching for running shoes, let's say there's like minimalistic running shoes or running shoes for vegans or like, sustainable running shoes, right? All of these different ways that people are searching for running shoes and they're not dominated by one large competitor, then what that tells me is I can come in and take advantage of these keywords, right? Because we're banking on the fact that we understand how to use data dive. We understand how to do SEO from, Amazon perspective, and that some of the other sellers might not know how to do that. All right, let's see if we have any more questions here. Can someone send me the link for the Facebook group for data dive? I'm also seeing a lot of good feedback for Slack, 100% Slack. So we'll look into that. Maybe by next week, I might have an update there. The thing I'm curious about is, yeah, we'll see. I'm curious if people will actually use it, but maybe we do like a little beta test for people who come to office hours. We start it there. And if there's some good engagement in the Slack group, then we'll actually put some resources in to support it. So the Facebook link, let me get that real quick. Facebook. So right now, this is a group for seller systems and data dive. There's like 9,000 members in this group. This is where we post all of our updates. So you can go and join that group here. As well, too, if you guys don't know, you're probably seeing the notifications for office hours that's coming through the data dive tool. If you see those announcements, click on those because that's where we're posting things about the different topics for office hours each week and other important things to pass on there. And then do we still need a Helium 10 subscription to use data dive? The answer is no. Everything ever since January goes through JungleScout. So you do not need a Helium 10 subscription anymore. And you don't even need a JungleScout subscription. Everything is all included inside of your data dive subscription, right? No ways to manually add keywords into your master keyword list. Basically, how data dive is going to work is it's going to populate your master keyword list based on all of the competitors that you've included. So what we've found is that, right, if it's not showing up in the master keyword list, there's only one of two options. Option number one is it's in your outlier keywords because only one or two competitors is taking advantage of this. So I just actually was on an enterprise call yesterday, and there was a really good example of this happening. There was a branded search term for that brand. So like imagine my brand was Coloroo. And then I didn't see Coloroo in my master keyword list. And they're like, man, why is it not there? And the reason why it wasn't there is because that brand name, for example, Coloroo, was actually in my outlier keywords, right? Because there was only one competitor that was ranking for that brand name, and it was that brand, right? So why it's going to show up in outlier keywords is because it might get a lot of search volume, but it has very low relevancy. Now, if that's the case, you can just find it in your outlier keywords and you can add it into your master keyword list. I want to show another little thing here that a lot of people forget about is, let's say you're looking at your outlier keywords and you're like, there are keywords that should be included, right? But I'm not seeing them here. Try toggling your search volume settings. You can drop this down to like 150, and you're going to see that this is going to go from having 20 outlier keywords, right? And let's see how many it gives me. Now I'm going to have like 1,200 keywords, right? So step number one is like, you want to add something into your master keyword list, but it's not showing up in your master keyword list. Try looking in your outlier keywords and see if it's showing up there. Now, if you still don't see something, drop down the settings from like 2,000 down to 150. And then again, you can just search this in and like type it in here, and then I can see if I can find it out of this list. Now, if you want to add in keywords that are not showing up in your outlier keywords list, they're not in your master keywords list, I would really be asking myself, is this keyword actually getting a lot of search volume relative to this niche, right? A lot of chances, right? Like I get on calls with people, they're telling me about these keywords that they want to add to their campaign. And these might be really relevant keywords in other places, right? On Google and other spots, but do they directly translate to search volume on Amazon? Now, if you still want to apply some pressure, you can't manually add anything into your master keyword list at this point. What you can do is you can add those keywords to your PPC campaigns, right? And how you do that is you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this list, right? You can see that I already did one, but like Anthony's new keyword, right? And I can actually paste in a list of keywords here, right? It's not going to show up in your master keyword list. But again, remember, if something's not showing up in your master keyword list or in outlier keywords, it's going to really make me wonder, is this a keyword that I actually want in my listing? Or is this a keyword that I should be running PPC traffic to potentially to see if it converts and then, validate it there? Remember, putting something into your listing, putting something into your title, this is to reinforce relevancy on Amazon. So again, just to recap, I know I'm beating a horse to death here, but if a keyword is not relevant to that niche, it's not showing up in the master keyword list, and it's really going to make me wonder, should I actually be including this in the title, right? Because now I'm sacrificing valuable space that I have in my title that I really should be using to cover my roots, right? I want to have these roots covered in exact forms of my title. That's my first priority versus adding in keywords that don't potentially show up in my master keyword list. All right. All right, we've got another question here from Rivka. When doing research on a specific product and it is doing well, do you recommend I create a copy of the product with minor changes such as color, or should I try to sub-niche the product, come up with my own changes to better perfect the product and see if it may or may not do well? Okay, another quick question here. When using the product scorecard through Data Dive, at what score above 0 is considered a pass and a product that I should go with? What numbers are a maybe, and what determines if I should go into this or not? So we get a lot of questions about the product scorecard and what scores should you launch with. And what you should think about this is, if you're launching a product, you might fill out 100 product scorecards, right? Just going through, filling out these product scorecards for a lot of different product ideas. Once you have successfully filled out a whole bunch of these product scorecards, you're going to see this distribution, right? You're going to see a ton of products, most likely, a ton of products that have very high negative numbers. Then you might see other products that are like more in the line of 0. And then you might see some that have like positive to high positive. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at those scores in the end and see, okay, out of everything that I dive, out of all of the potential products I could launch, what has the highest positive scores? This is not as black and white as you might think it is. There's not like, wow, it's above a 300. You're going to be a millionaire in 6 months, right? You want to kind of look at the overall bigger picture, right? And it's also going to lead into risk tolerance, right? If I were to, and I think I might have already filled out the product scorecard for this. Obviously, it's not done because this elevated pet bed would not give me a 350. I know because I've done this. This should be like a negative 250 or something like that. This doesn't mean, like, just because I have a negative 250, it doesn't mean that like I shouldn't launch this product. It means that if my risk tolerance is low and I don't have a big budget to go and compete with, let's let this load for a second, right? Just in this niche alone, we have 7 sellers that are very strong here, right? I'm going to have to work really, really hard just to beat these 7 people. And I think I did a limited dive. I think there's only like a handful of competitors on this. And another dive that I was doing of this elevated pet bed, there was like 17 very strong competitors. So it's not to say that I couldn't launch an elevated pet bed. It just means that if I want to launch an elevated pet bed, it's going to take me months and months and months of heavy PPC spend. And then I still might only be like, in this case, the 8th best seller here. I might only be able to beat these smaller sellers here. So there's not really any hard and fast rules. You really want to look at it as a distribution of all of the product scorecards that you've filled out. Okay, Leo here asking how we add outlier keywords to the master keyword list. So adding outlier keywords to your MKL is super easy. All you have to do is you come to your master keyword list, you find a keyword that you want to add. I'm going to filter by relevancy, set my highest relevance. So like dog hammock, this is a good one, right? It's like an elevated pet bed. Why do people buy it? They buy it because they want to keep their dog cool. It has airflow that goes underneath. So dog hammock might be a very good related keyword, right? Because it's all about getting airflow under the dog bed, right? So maybe dog hammock is another way that people call this elevated pet bed, right? So if I wanted to add this to my master keyword list, I just click on the check box and then I click on this banner. And then bam, like magic, I can come back over here to my MKL. And then now this is going to show up as an outlier keyword. Let me share my screen here real quick. I don't know if Moises can join in and chime in on this. I don't know if there is a way to distribute a different budget across the campaign or to edit it. I think what it might do, let me just double check here. Yeah. So we can do a campaign daily budget, and then we can do a total daily budget with no less, and it's going to distribute. So I believe it is going to be all the same amount per campaign. I think maybe I'm pretty sure that's the answer. I don't think there's a way to edit these here. I guess the only thing you could do is if you generate the bulk sheet, then you can edit it on the back end. I don't think there's a way for the tool to do that right now.
And
that I know of.
yes, thank you. It is the question I am asking. And the third one is just in previous version, you are giving the add to cart values and giveaways value per day. So these values are not important currently. That is why you are not developed in a web-based version. Is this right?
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Okay, no issue. Thank you.
Yeah, because it doesn't show add to cart values anywhere, does it?
Yes, in Google Sheet it shows, in previous version it shows, but in new web-based version it is not showing. Maybe it is irrelevant now, that is why it is not showing.
I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you so much.
If anyone else on the call knows how to do individual setting of budgets, let me just go and check over in the PPC campaigns tab. But I think, let's see, campaign daily budget. Yeah, no, it's just, yeah. It gives you a little more granularity in that tab because you can, I'll show you here, versus being in the PPC campaigns for launch. Like here, you can set different budgets for the different types of campaigns, but it's still going to distribute that across. All right, Andy, you've got your hand raised.
Hey,
anyone else?
how you going, Anthony?
What's going on, Andy? All right, how can we help you?
Anthony, a couple of things. Yes, each campaign has a budget. You can't have more than one budget per campaign. So the answer to that is make a lot of campaigns.
Right.
Makes it, if you want to be able to control your keywords, you have to have a lot of campaigns that gives you the ability to actually have those controls in place. Now, one of the things around budgets as well, which I've spoken to you about, but probably the guys here don't know about, is that you're talking about your conversions, but you're not taking it actually further back. So that the first critical link that you've got is the amount of impressions. The amount of impressions that you will get from Amazon, especially in a competitive niche, is totally dependent. Well, not totally dependent. It's dependent on the budget that you've got. So in other words, in a competitive niche, what Amazon will do is they will look at your conversion rate and they will look at your budget and they'll look at your cost per click. Based on those three parameters, they will allocate you impressions.
Right.
So if you have a budget there and you're saying, well, I'm not making my budget, it might very well be because you're not getting enough impressions, and then those impressions, of course, result in clicks, which then result in you managing to actually get sales off the back of it. So I've got it, and this really comes into play when you've got a mature process, a mature product. I've got some products which I don't actually spend more on my budget than about $8 or $10, and I've got a day, but I actually have my budget set up at like 70 or 80 bucks, which pushes the message back into the algorithm that I'll take all the impressions I can get. So you don't choke it by having a low budget on it. Then the other one I just wanted to comment was Ian came on earlier today and said, what about I'm using a high multiplier and a low bid? That doesn't work. That's really a bullshit program. The problem with that is you don't get yourself onto page one. So all a high multiplier does is it means that they will put you into the top area above the fold if you've got the ability to get into that bid. But if you're sitting on page 2 or you're sitting at the bottom of page 1, your chance to get into that fold is very low, and your chance to convert because you're not getting into the fold is really, really low as well. So it's much better to build yourself into a bid which is competitive to get you onto page 1. Have a look on page 1, see if you're there. And then when you're on there, you can start looking at your multiplier to try and get you above the fold. So just some comments.
Yeah, those are super helpful. I'll have to add in a slide. I think we have it in the other deck on like kind of the flow from impressions to clicks to sales. Because that's that's a good indicator.
It's a critical side because lots of people come along and they say, well, you know, I'm not getting impressions and I'm not getting clicks, but they sit with a small budget. Amazon's not allocating the impressions to be able to get those conversions going. And there are also a lot of guys switch off the budget during the day. So they either have a budget which runs out halfway through the day. That the algorithm will absolutely hammer you on that. It'll absolutely hammer you on that because it says like, these guys don't have the capacity to do that. So it keeps on pulling your impressions down and you're not going to perform.
Sounds good. Good. All right. Winky, in the MKL under opportunity evaluation, there's launch keywords. How do we see what they are and how do we make use of them? So I'm just going to show everyone where those are in question, but these launch keywords, this is going to get removed. So I think there was a question earlier of like, hey, this used to be in the tool, add to cart value. Now that's not. We're always taking things out, trying to make this more simple. Eventually launch keywords is going to be removed. I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, Ian, regrettably, I wasn't able to attend the PPC masterclass, but I'm excited to have it uploaded. I do have a question regarding PPC for launch, though. Specifically, when running exact match campaigns, should I stick with the TOS top of search multiplier at 900,000 with a low bid, or bid 5 to 10% higher than the suggested bid for ranking? Okay, I'm gonna have to read that one more time.
This was the one I answered.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would stick away from doing a 900% multiplier. I would probably just increase the bid price. The whole point is, right, you want visibility. It's like Andy's saying, right, it's impressions. So if you're like way down and you're using that multiplier, it's going to have a pretty limited effect. Okay, cool. I think that's everything, guys. If there's any more questions, drop them into the chat here. Next week, we're going to be back for title writing. Hope to see everyone there. And yeah, see you next week. So Craig is asking, is there a way to get the profit and cost of launch out to a financial model? Let me see if I can answer this here. Data Dive, a very helpful but often unused part of the tool is down here in monitoring called profits. This is going to be the best kind of profit forecaster that you can use inside of Data Dive. If you want to, you can click this populate button. You can select one of the products in your dive, and then it's just going to take all of their information and then match this into the profits calculator, right? So it's going to fill out some of this information for you. What I would recommend is if you're serious about launching a product, actually take the time to go and fill out all of this with your correct specifications, right? So after you've talked to a supplier, after you've been able to estimate, any of these budgets that you need, put in all of this information, and then it's going to populate here. The other reason that is super helpful is when we're in our niche pipeline, there's a few columns that are actually only going to populate if you've filled out the profits calculator, right? And so imagine if I was launching a product, I had done research on 10, 15 different products. If I had actually filled out the profits tab for that niche, then it's going to bring in these costs like landed costs, gross profit margin, all of these different metrics. And so again, this can be a great way if I'm looking at 10 products. Now I can get a better view of like, okay, this is going to give me the highest profit. This is going to be the highest annualized return. Yusef is asking, is there any way to change the shipping from country and the shipping information on the data dive calculator? Let's see if we can find that here. Go back to our product scorecard. So I'm sure this is under shipping information or shipping costs maybe. Okay, so any way to change the shipping country? Yeah, I think by default, it's just giving us China, and then you can go only to the US. And then it gives you a few different options for your method of shipping. I don't think there's any way to change. Like, I guess you're asking if you wanted to ship from Vietnam to like the West Coast or from Vietnam to Central. I don't believe there's a functionality for that now. You can let me know if that is the question that you had, if that's answered. Okay, Keith is asking, what's the difference between search terms and root keywords? Okay, another good question here. Let me just go through this again. So keep in mind, right, we have our keywords. Our keywords are showing up here in our master keyword list. After you've cleaned up this list and gotten rid of any branded search terms or any keywords that are not relevant to the products that you're trying to sell, right, then we can look at this as this is the complete list of keywords that I want to focus on, that I want to try to improve my organic rank on for this niche, right? There's 449 of them. Now, when we're thinking about writing our title, the reason that we like look at roots rather than looking at individual keywords is because we know how the Amazon algorithm works is it's all based on roots, right? Amazon is trying to cluster together similar groups of keywords to see if they're indexing you in the correct product and to benchmark this performance. So like I was saying earlier, garlic press is important to us, not just because it's garlic press, but garlic press is a root which includes 176 other keywords with a broad search volume of 101,000. So when we put garlic press into our title in an exact form and we make sales, we're not just going to improve our rank for garlic press, we're going to improve our rank for all of these other keywords related to garlic press, right? Inside of that root, we're going to improve our rank for all of these other keywords for garlic and press, right? And so that's kind of the basis of what we want to think about this. So when we're writing a listing, we want to focus on roots. When we're running PPC campaigns, we want to focus on roots, because as we improve our performance for the root, it's going to have a halo effect to all of these other keywords. I hope that explains it, like the difference between these two things. You know, root is like a root is going to contain many other keywords, right? So that's kind of the main difference. And when we say a root is just two or more words, which is a unique way of identifying a product, right? So like garlic, no one's going to type in garlic and buy this product. No one's going to type in press and buy this product, but they might type in garlic press and buy this product. Mincer, not going to work. Ajo, not going to work. But like the Spanish translation of garlic press, which we'll see further down, that is a unique way, two or more words of searching for a product. So that's why we're going to call it a root. Okay, good. That was a helpful explanation. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, great. Yeah, so Yusuf is saying, I mean, changing from China to India, for example. So yeah, right now, Data Dive doesn't give us the functionality to switch the country. I don't know if that's a common question. I know most people are importing their products from China, but now there's a lot more sellers that are sourcing products from India, from Vietnam, from Mexico. And so maybe that'll be a future upgrade. I know Moises is on this call, so if that makes it back to the team, you might see that. Asking what is considered a very good score? Debbie, just keep in mind that it's all relative, right? So if you go out and, obviously the highest positive score is the best score. A low negative score is going to be the worst score, right? but it all really depends on risk tolerance. So if you're, what Brandon recommends is if you're launching a product, you might have to do 100 of these product scorecards, and there might be like 5 or 10 out of that group that are actually products that you're going to go and that are worth pursuing, right? So a lot of people are asking, well, like, if it's above 150 positive, does that mean that I'm going to make money and I'm going to be a millionaire? If it's above 500, does that mean I'm going to be really rich? It's not really how it works, right? Do this, go and actually fill out the product scorecard for a bunch of different products, and then look at the distribution. All it means is that higher positive scores have it's more likely that they're going to be lower risk. Things with a very negative score, it doesn't mean you shouldn't launch the product. It's just going to be there's more risk factors associated with launching that product. So it's not so black and white, but it's going to make more sense when you fill out like 10 of these. Another question here, can you show me how to create PPC at launch using roots and how to do it? I'll just do this very, very quickly because I did show this earlier in the call. But you'll be able to see it in the recap, the more detailed explanation. But all you're going to do to set up your PPC campaigns for launch, it's really simple. You're just going to come here to the PPC campaigns for launch tab. You're going to select your roots. So here, garlic press is a root, garlic mincer is another root, garlic crusher is another root. You want to select all of your roots. And then once you do that, you just set up your general parameters. And then it's going to build you these campaigns. So here's campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3. And then I can either generate a bulk sheet, or I can, after I've connected my PPC accounts, I can send those campaigns directly to Amazon. I think that's all the questions, everyone. I think we got all of them here. So if there's nothing else, that's where I'm going to wrap up the call. Thanks so much for joining office hours, and we'll see you next week. We're going to go through title writing, walking the line between a keyword stuff title, something that's readable, and then also how to build out a strategy of doing iterative changes over a period of time, and the correct way to do that. So thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.